The first time I met Zynara, I thought she was just another eccentric rich kid with a penchant for the bizarre. She had that air of otherworldliness about her. Literally. Her skin shimmered faintly under the sunlight, a soft iridescent glow that made her look like she'd been dusted with stardust. Her eyes were a deep violet, almost hypnotic, and her voice had a melodic quality that made every word sound like a song. But what really caught my attention was the way she carried herself, like she owned the universe. Turns out she kind of did. I was working as a freelance xenobiologist on the Interstellar research station Elysium 7, studying the flora and fauna of newly discovered planets. Zynara had arrived on the station a week earlier, accompanied by a small entourage of what I assumed were bodyguards or advisors. They were all tall, elegant, and just as ethereal as she was. Rumors spread quickly on the station. She was the heiress to the Celestian Empire, one of the most powerful and enigmatic civilizations in the galaxy. But I didn't pay much attention to the gossip. I had work to do. Then one day, she approached me in the station's arboretum. I was examining a sample of bioluminescent moss from the planet Lyra 9 when I felt a presence behind me. I turned, and there she was, her violet eyes fixed on me with an intensity that made my heart skip a beat. "You're the xenobiologist," she said, her voice smooth and melodic. "The one who wrote the paper on symbiotic ecosystems." I blinked surprised. Yeah, that's me." "How did you?" "I read it," she interrupted, a small smile playing on her lips. "It was fascinating. I've never met a human who understands the interconnectedness of life the way you do." I wasn't sure how to respond to that. "Thanks, I guess. It's kind of my job." She tilted her head, studying me like I was some rare specimen. "Would you join me for dinner tonight? I'd like to discuss your work further." I hesitated. Dinner with an alien heiress. It sounded like the start of a bad sci-fi Hollywood. But curiosity got the better of me. Sure. Why not? That evening, I arrived at her quarters, which were more like a palace than a standard station suite. The walls were adorned with intricate tapestries that seemed to shift and change as I looked at them, and the air was filled with a faint, sweet scent that reminded me of jasmine. Zynara greeted me at the door, dressed in a flowing gown that seemed to be made of liquid silver. She looked even more radiant than usual. "Thank you for coming," she said, leading me to a table set with dishes I didn't recognize. "I hope you're hungry." The food was interesting. Some of it was delicious, while other dishes had flavors that were so alien, I couldn't even describe them. As we ate, we talked about my research, her travels, and the mysteries of the universe. She was surprisingly easy to talk to, and I found myself relaxing despite the surreal setting. Then, halfway through dessert, she dropped the bombshell. "I've been observing you," she said casually, as if discussing the weather. I froze, a spoonful of what looked like glowing pudding hovering in midair. "Observing me?" "Yes. Your work, your interactions with others, your essence. You're different from the other humans I've encountered. You have a unique perspective, a deep respect for life in all its forms. It's rare and valuable." I set the spoon down, suddenly feeling like I was in way over my head. Thanks. But I'm just a scientist. I don't think I'm that special." She leaned forward, her violet eyes locking onto mine. "You are. And that's why I've chosen you." "Chosen me for what?" She smiled, and for the first time, I noticed the faint glow of her skin seemed to intensify. "To be my consort." I stared at her, sure I'd misheard. "You're what?" "My consort," she repeated, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "My partner. My equal. Together, we will unite our worlds and bring about a new era of peace and prosperity." I laughed nervously, hoping this was some kind of elaborate joke. "You're serious?" "Completely," she said, her expression unwavering. "This is not a decision I've made lightly. I've spent my entire life searching for someone who shares my vision, who understands the delicate balance of the cosmos. And I found that person in you." I felt like the room was spinning. "But I'm just a guy. Human guy. I don't know anything about being a consort or uniting worlds or any of that." "You don't have to," she said gently. "I will guide you, teach you. All I ask is that you stand by my side and help me lead." I shook my head, still trying to process what was happening. "This is insane. Can't just leave my life behind. My work, my friends, my planet." "Your work will continue," she interrupted. "In fact, it will flourish. You'll have access to resources and knowledge beyond your wildest dreams. And as for your friends and family, they will be well taken care of. You have my word." I opened my mouth to protest, but the words caught in my throat. Part of me wanted to say no, to run out of the room and pretend this never happened. But another part of me, a part one didn't even know existed, was intrigued. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, a chance to be part of something bigger than myself, to make a real difference. "Why me?" I asked finally, my voice barely above a whisper. She reached across the table, her hand brushing against mine. Her touch was warm, electric. "Because you see the universe as I do. Not as a collection of separate worlds, but as a single, interconnected whole. And because I feel a connection to you, one I've never felt with anyone else." I looked into her eyes, and for the first time I saw vulnerability there. She wasn't just an alien heiress or a powerful leader. She was a person, searching for someone to share her life with. And for reasons I couldn't fully understand, she had chosen me. I took a deep breath, my mind racing. What if I say no? She withdrew her hand, her expression unreadable. "Then I will respect your decision. But know this, you will always wonder what could have been. And so will I." I sat there in silence, the weight of her words pressing down on me. This wasn't just a dinner invitation. It was a crossroads, a choice that would change the course of my life forever. Finally, I made my decision. The ceremony was unlike anything I'd ever seen. It took place on Zynara's homeworld, a planet of breathtaking beauty with skies that shimmered like opals and oceans that glowed with bioluminescent light. The Celestian people gathered in a grand amphitheater, their iridescent forms creating a sea of color that stretched as far as the eye could see. I stood at the center of it all, dressed in robes that felt both alien and strangely familiar. Zynara stood beside me, her hand in mine, her presence a calming force amidst the chaos of my thoughts. As the ceremony reached its climax, she turned to me, her violet eyes filled with a mixture of hope and determination. "Do you accept this bond, knowing it will bind our lives together for eternity?" I looked at her, at the world around us, and at the future that stretched out before me. It was terrifying, exhilarating, and undeniably right. "I do," I said, my voice steady despite the storm of emotions inside me. She smiled, and in that moment I knew I'd made the right choice. Together we would face whatever challenges lay ahead. Together we would shape the destiny of the galaxy. And as the crowd erupted in cheers, I realized something else.